I am Miles Todd. Alongside me, I got Hunter Davis.
And alongside me, I have the Kalen Jones.
Alongside me, Matt McClure.
I look really short.
He's got no one alongside him. This is the Inferno's Bracket Breakdown. Hello again, and welcome to the Inferno's Bracket Breakdown. I'm Miles Todd, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking the Sweet 16 for this year's March Madness, bracket, and breaking it down. I got the South, Hunter's got the East,
I have the East.
Kalen's got the Midwest, and Matt McClure has got the West. I'm going to start us off with the South.
Knows how to party.
Yeah, I'm going to start us off with the South. So, we got Duke and Utah, and you got UCLA versus Gonzaga. Now, with UCLA versus Gonzaga, I'm going to pick the unfavorable upset. I mean, in March, it's all about who's hot, and UCLA's on fire. Now, granted, they did get that, controversial goaltending call,
Not
which
controversial. Airball.
I believe was the right call. It was right over the cylinder, but besides that, UCLA's just been blazing through this tournament, and Gonzaga's a good basketball team, but I think UCLA's just too hot right now. I think they're just going to, run right over them. Well, I don't run right over them, but Gonzaga's not going to douse that fire, if you know what I'm saying. Now, when it comes down to Duke and Utah, two very good basketball teams, Duke, in my opinion, has that better player at each position. So, I mean, Utah's been repping the Pac-12 pretty well. However, Duke's got Coach K behind them. They got that dominant Jahlil Okafor, Tyus Jones handling the ball. I got Duke over them. Now, when it comes to Duke versus UCLA, the Bruins versus the Blue Devils, Battle of the Bees. They're all blue. I'm going to have to go Duke on this one. I mean, UCLA doesn't really have that person that they can just, give the ball to and they can trust. I think that Duke has a couple of those. I mean, they got Tyus Jones handling it. You can always give it to Jahlil Okafor, who can give it back. I mean, they're both dominant players. Quinn Cook, I think just Duke is going to win the South region. Moving on, Hunter's got the East.
So in the East, we have NC State and Louisville at the top of the bracket. And NC State, they are hot, coming off a big win against Villanova, but Villanova is arguably the worst number 1 seed. And Louisville, they were supposed to be number 1 seed at the beginning of the year. They kind of had a few losses, weren't looking too good, but Montrezl Harrell, Rick Pitino, just two great players. They work very well together. He knows how to use Montrezl Harrell, so I see Louisville advancing from there on out. But Michigan State is playing Oklahoma. Oklahoma, worst number 3 seed. Great state, kind of, but Michigan State.
Very good musical.
Very good musical. Michigan State, Tom Izzo, he's going to be too good. He's going to know how to shut down Oklahoma's scores, and they're going to advance to the Elite Eight. So in the Elite Eight matchup, we have Tom Izzo versus Rick Pitino.
Right.
In my opinion, two best coaches left. Granted, we do have Coach K, Roy Williams, and Calipari left, but I see Pitino and Izzo as better coaches. And in that matchup, I feel like the hustle of Montrezl Harrell and people like Wayne Blackshear, he knows what to do in basketball. He's just very fundamentally sound player. And I believe that they are going to be able to take down Michigan State just because the talent, they're the same coaching level, and when it comes down to that, they'll cancel each other out, and more talent goes to Louisville.
So you got the Cardinals. So right now we got the Blue Devils, we got the Cardinals, Blues and Reds. Now moving on to the Midwest, you got the big dogs up there, West Virginia.
West Virginia.
Just kidding. You got Kentucky, West Virginia, Notre Dame, Wichita. Now, who do you have for Kentucky, West Virginia?
Well, Miles, looking at Kentucky, West Virginia. West Virginia's coming off a pretty good win against Maryland where they showed that they were a gritty team. Devin Williams was phenomenal on the boards. Jawan Staten really showing he's a great facilitator in Bob Huggins' system. But, again, Kentucky's the number 1 team in the nation for a reason. I'm going to go with Kentucky.
All right, and now Notre Dame, Wichita just ended, but who did you have? Tell us.
I had Wichita State. And for a logical reason.
Get him off the panel. Where's Johnny?
It was for a logical reason.
Johnny? Is Johnny here? Moving on. What was your logical reason?
Okay. Well, looking at Wichita State, they came off a pretty good win over Kansas. And you're looking at where they had a pretty senior unit where you have Fred VanVleet, Rod Baker, who have been in the Final Four situation before, especially coming off a year where they had not necessarily overachieved, but they were number 2 seed the year before, and they ended up losing early. I thought this would be their redemption year. And Notre Dame, they've been iffy, at least at this point, even against Butler.
Let's just say you thought wrong.
Yeah, I thought wrong.
All right, so you got Notre Dame, even though you won Wichita, and you got Kentucky. Who's winning that?
I'm taking Kentucky.
Kentucky.
More complete team.
Big surprise.
Short and simple. Matt's got the West, arguably the most boring teams out of all these. Wisconsin, North Carolina, Arizona Xavier. Arizona Xavier, who do you got?
I have Arizona because they've been dominating on the rebounds and they've been blazing through this tournament so far. And Rondé Hollis-Jefferson has just been dominant. He's had
He's a
2 double-doubles in
basketball
both games, and Stanley Johnson's helping a lot out on the boards. And I think they beat Xavier tonight in LA and move on to the Elite
All
Eight.
right, now Wisconsin, North Carolina alongside with Notre Dame, Wichita just ended. Who did you have?
I had Wisconsin, and
Look
I
who's
mean,
staying. Johnny, stay in your seat.
Wisconsin was supposed to be a great #1 seed, and I thought they were. And Frank Kaminsky was going to lead this team, and they've looked only okay throughout the tournament. So
I see him. He's itching. He wants to get at you. Okay, so you got Wisconsin.
Yeah,
Wisconsin
yeah.
versus Arizona. Who's winning that?
I'm gonna
Defense versus Wisconsin.
No, I say the defense is going to win that game because, as I was saying before you cut me off a second ago,
Yeah, sure.
Really?
Wisconsin has struggled with average teams such as Oregon, and then UNC was a great #4 seed today, and they pulled out the win, but that was a tough one for them. I don't see them beating Arizona. Down.
So our final four is Arizona, Kentucky, Louisville, and Duke. Okay, so between Kentucky and Arizona, who do you have winning, Matt, and why? Keep it short.
All right, Kentucky because their size.
Nice.
Just
All right, Caleb. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, bud.
They are so big. I mean, their average height is like 6'9", which is one of the even a big NBA team for what it is. And Arizona will not be able to rebound and get offensive rebounds, which is their success.
All right, Kalen, Kentucky, Arizona.
Pretty much the same reason in Kentucky as well. You're looking at Stanley Johnson, Tarzinski. They're pretty much their most dominant big men. I don't think that they'll be able to play to the level that they've been throughout the tournament, especially against the depth of Kentucky.
So we got Kentucky in the final. Now, between Louisville and Duke, who do you have winning, Hunter?
Well, you see, Duke, if Duke were to win, the last time that 2 #1 seeds were in the final was, I believe, 2008. That is not going to happen this year. Louisville just knows how to outplay, outlast, and outwit teams. Montrezl Harrell is just a beast. He will shut down Julio Okafor, and I see the Cardinals, sorry, not Stanford.
It's not
Cardinals
Stanford.
going to the final against Kentucky.
All right, let's bring up some stats. So the last time actually, in the previous years, like almost every year, there's been a 5-12 upset. This year, there hasn't been one. If we're bringing up stats. So clearly, this year
I
is
believe
the
that
year.
5-12s happened in the first round, though, not in the Sweet 16.
So we're not talking about that. We're just talking about breaking the stats up. So this is clearly the year to break up the stats. Like, they don't matter. So let's just hypothetically speak that we could break the stats and we can get Kentucky and Duke in the final. That's what I'm going to pick. I think Duke can beat Louisville. Don't get me wrong. Louisville's a great basketball team. Montrezl Harrell, he hustles.
Fantastic
if I've
team.
ever seen it. Pitino's a great coach, but in my opinion, Coach K is just better. And like I said before, Duke got that. There's the player they can just give the ball to. You can give the ball to Montrezl Harrell, but I mean,
And he will score.
He will score, but Duke's just got more. I mean, Montrezl Harrell could shut down Julio Okafor, but just kick it out to Tyus Jones. I know, everyone happy, right, Caleb? Just kick it out to Tyus Jones, Quinn Cook. In my opinion, I think Duke will win that basketball game if it comes to it. So since we're split, we don't have a final. Matt, Duke, Louisville, who's winning it?
I'm going to say Duke.
I'm taking Duke, Tyus Jones.
Louisville is in Kentucky, but Kentucky is not in Louisville. Louisville will be the national champion.
Duke, wow, 3-1. I'm sorry, bud. Here, we'll give you another shot.
You just said Duke. It's Louisville, Kentucky.
No, I'm saying
Oh,
Duke.
We did
Duke.
Duke Louisville.
Wow, you're 0 for 2. Moving on. So let's say, speaking of stats, you're 0 for 2. Let's say it's Duke, Kentucky in the final. Who do you have, Matt? Duke, Kentucky.
All right.
You got it?
Got
Duke,
it.
Kentucky.
Heard you put your hand like this, you look a lot smarter. So I'm going to say,
talks.
I'm going to say Duke.
Duke.
I'm taking Kentucky.
I'm going to have to go with Duke as well.
And you know what? I'm going to say Duke, too. They might not be the most deserving #1 seed, but, I mean, the last time there were 2 #1 seeds in the final, that's just ridiculous. So it's obviously going to be a ridiculous game, and I think Duke's going to win it. So we have Duke, Kentucky, Duke. Duke is our
Louisville.
national championship. I've been Miles Todd. This has been Hunter Davis. That's been Kalen Jones. And who's that guy? Johnny Soto. Matt McClure. And this has been the Inferno Bracket Breakdown.